Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Virtual Happy Hour again this evening. I am Raina from Garden District Bookshop.
And I'm Ben. Welcome.
Awesome. Tonight, we are both going to be talking to M.O. Walsh, who is the author of his new book, The Big Door Prize. He has had fiction published in the New York Times and the Guardian, the Paris Review, and multiple other publications. And I'm going to push the button here and invite him onto the screen. Hi.
Hooray.
Hopefully those publications are in locations, right? So it's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. It's, I was really hoping to be able to put on a sweatshirt that would get cool enough. And so, in New Orleans, if it's like 75 degrees, that's like winter here. So I put a sweatshirt on.
This morning, I went out to vote and I was like, I have to go back inside and get my hoodie. It's too cold.
I did the same thing. I left for work and then I went in like a shorts and a t-shirt and then I ran back and I was like, I need a jacket. It's too cold.
Because I had this nightmare of being able to stand or having to stand in line for, hours, like these stories you've been hearing. Luckily, there was a line, but it went really smoothly. But I was like, I'm just going to freeze my butt off standing out there if I don't have layers.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I heard that the people that were finding lines then went over to the Smoothie King Center and there was like no lines there at all to vote. So, yeah.
That's good to know. Good to know.
Okay.
Anybody who's local and needs to vote is going to vote early. Smoothie King Center. Check it out.
Yep.
Hot tip.
Yeah, I went down on Chef Mentura because last time I went out there and there's no parking issues or anything like that because it's not like the ones that are downtown. You have to worry about where you're going to park and all those things.
Right.
But yeah, there were a bunch of people out there. Like I said, it went pretty smoothly. So.
Well, yeah, we were lucky when we moved into this neighborhood. I live in Lake Terrace, which is sort of by UNO where I work. And we moved in here about 7 years ago or so. And we're like, man, I wonder where we vote. And, started looking around. And then we just walked like out of the house and recognized that our neighbor, like four doors down, is a polling station. And so they just open up. What? They literally just open up their garage. They have two machines that come in. And they've got a couple of people that are working there. And so we just walk 4 doors down and vote.
Oh my God, that's
wow.
I know. Yeah, it's great.
What is it? Is it a house or something?
Yeah, it's their house. It's in their garage. I mean, I'm assuming these votes are actually getting to where they need to go. I mean, they seem pretty professional. They have a really big, voter roll thing that they, write our names on and check us out and everything. So it seems legit.
It's not often that I wonder about the credentials of the polling place. They flipped it all on their head. I'm like, sorry, can I see your identification? This is weird. A certificate or something that you get to hang up to be a polling location.
Yeah, I always think about that too. If anyone buys that house, are they going to be like burdened now with being, or is it? I don't know. Could I apply to do something like that in the front yard? I have no idea.
We were taking a cross-country trip once when I was a teenager with my mom, my sister, and myself. And we were driving across Texas, and the car broke down. So we had just passed like this little bitty hut, nothing. So we like limped back to there. And it turns out it was a little post office. And this woman comes walking, there's one house way over there. She comes walking up, are you okay? What's going on? And she was the sweetest woman. But they bought that house sight unseen from Vermont. And it came with like 86 acres of land, that house. And then part of the thing of buying the house was you had to maintain that little post office. It was a little bitty post office. And like everyone around rurally, came in and got their mail there. And that was part of the deal of buying that house. So I guess it could be.
Yeah, that's cool.
There you go. So I wanted to say to everyone who's watching too, if you have any questions or comments or anything, type them in the chat. We can see those. We will answer your questions. It's always fun to see where people are watching from. So if you don't really have a question, that's okay. You can type in and tell us where you're watching from. That's always fun too.
If you're my parents, let me know that you're here.
Yes, family members, log in, tell us. My mom and my sister watch pretty regularly. They come up with questions and stuff. But I will say my mom she was nothing but a mystery thriller reader before I started Virtual Happy Hour, and she has read like 5 of the books from Virtual Happy Hour.
Great.
So there you go.
That's one sale guaranteed.
Yeah, that's great. I know. So a lot of the like book tour events I've been doing are Zoom events, and typically they're sort of like this, where I can't see anybody other than like maybe one other person. And so later I'll do the whole thing thinking that like my mom is there or something, and then I'll text her afterwards like did you watch? And she's like, oh no, I missed that one. I didn't know that was going on. And then there's others where I'm like thinking she's not there, and so I end up saying things that I wouldn't have said if I knew she was there. So it's it's the type of thing where I kind of just want to know, is there any family here? If so,
show yourself.
Show yourself.
If family is here.
Yeah, and then so I kind of prefer these better where you can only see a couple people, because even though I like to know, if people are here or whatever, like whenever there's a whole wall of little squares, like I found myself like talking, but also like clicking to see who was there, like. Trying to see names and like, my old high school buddy here who told me he was going to show up, or was he just like pulling my chain? Who's actually here?
I've done that same thing. People are going to say, they're going to show up, or sometimes it's industry stuff. I do that too. Like a friend is like, oh yeah, I signed up for that panel too. And then you're like, well, you weren't in there. I didn't see you at all, but you got busy all of a sudden.
And I like the, like when people don't change their names, like you can have your little display name. They don't change it from when they were talking to friends before, but now they're in like a professional setting. Like I had one of my students the other night, and she wouldn't care if I said this, so if she's here, it's fine. But like hers came up in our class because we're teaching our classes through Zoom, and it was, her name was Slime Ball. And so it's like you're sitting there having this like really like high level conversation, graduate school conversation, and every time she talks, it just says slime ball. So I thought that was pretty funny.
What meeting were you in before this one?
We had sort of a mix-up that was my fault at the bookstore, where we had Britton was having me like transfer email addresses into Zoom, like send everyone the link, and I accidentally registered everyone under my name. So he showed up to this event, and there was just 25 Benjamin Morrisons. And he was like, he texted me, he's like, why does everyone have your name?
Right.
Like, oops.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah. No. He was like, what is going on? I was like, sorry.
I didn't even really know you could do that. I thought, that's interesting.
Well, the whole like we've all had to have this like crash course in technology we had no interest in before. It's like now. I mean, I'm on Zoom. Like everything I do is on Zoom. And it's like I think that faculty all over the country are like dealing with this type of stuff. It's like, oh, suddenly along like when not just faculty but like people at bookstores everywhere, no matter who you are. It's like not only did I have to have this job, now I have to have this knowledge, and this technological savvy that people, not everyone's interested in, it's like an extra job.
Oh yeah. I can't imagine some of those like poor, there's definitely people that just like are like, what am I doing? Even still, they're like having to go through because I'm sure there was like people having to write the whole like guide of like how to do Zoom for, those professors are like, I just want to be back in my lecture hall.
I'm 44. I'm not like the oldest guy in the world, but like a lot of faculty is like 74, and emailing was already sort of a pain. Now there has to do this. It's like this is not what I studied literature for, Right. But we're all adapting.
So it's going well, like teaching through Zoom. It has
it's good. I mean,
it's prevailed. Yeah,
it's good. I mean, we went to it, sort of mid-semester in the spring, and so I think that was sort of hard on faculty and students, because not everyone had that access and everything. So this fall, everybody knew it was coming, and I much prefer it to just sort of like a text-based, almost just correspondence model of online learning. I like it better when I can see people's faces and crack a joke and see people smile and all that type of stuff. It's so much better. So I think it's worked out. I look forward to being back in the classroom, though. You don't feel the same sort of energy through the computer that you do, in a classroom.
Yeah, totally.
My son just started hybrid, so they were all virtual for the first quarter, and the second quarter just started Wednesday, and now it's hybrid. He's in 8th grade, and so there's some kids in the room, and then there's some kids on the like Google Meet, and it's kind of like, I feel so bad for these teachers because they're turning to them, oh, you know, raise your hand, and you'll see you, and here's the paper, and then they turn and there's a camera right there, and I'm like, I was feeling kind of bad for them having to figure it out before, but now they're like doing both, and I'm like, look, I'm just gonna email the lady. Like, it's not even her fault. I don't know what's going on. It's fine.
I know. Yeah, it's new for everybody.
Okay, can I kick us off by asking a question about the novel?
Yeah.
Please
Okay,
do.
so for Big Door Prize, I'm curious, when did you get the first like inklings of the idea for this book? Like where did it start and when?
It's 2020 now, so probably like 2004 or something. So like,
wow. Okay.
Years ago, I wrote a short story with the same idea. So with this sort of machine that like will tell you your potential based on DNA. I was in graduate school at the time, and the reason I'm dating it because I think I graduated 2005 from my MFA program, so I know I wrote it then. So around 2004 probably. But the short story just had only two main characters, which are Douglas and Sherilyn, who sort of are the main characters of this novel too. But it just took place in a very short space. You know, it was maybe like a 12-page story or something. So I had that idea a long time ago. But you know, it's just one of the few short story ideas that sort of never went away. I don't know if y'all write stories or not, but normally, like, you know, once I write a story, whether it's good or bad, like after I've done that, I'm sort of tired of the idea. I'm not interested.
Right.
I don't want to go back there. I don't want to do that again. You know, it sort of exists in the past. And this is one I always felt like, you know, had a lot more potential, a lot more things I could do with it. And so, you know, so that story was in my first collection, which is called The Prospect of Magic. And then I spent about 7 years working on My Sunshine Away, which was my first novel. And after I was done with that, I was just trying to think of ideas, you know, like what do I want to do next? And it was just one of those ones that just never sort of went away. And I was like, well, you know, I'll go tinker with it a little bit. And once I started doing that, new characters started popping up, and you know, it's started getting populated. And I really I liked the tone of it. You know, it was this novel is you know, very different tonally than my first novel. It's not nearly as sort of dark. I mean, it's got dark stuff in it, but there's also like room for jokes and people having fun and you know, and stuff like that, where the first one's really, you know, pretty serious all the way through. So I just really wanted to do something different, you know, and I was like, well, maybe this will be an opportunity for that. So, you know, the idea was really old.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, but all the characters except for the main two,
right, weren't there.
Yeah.
Now, when you wrote that short story, like when you were showing it to people or workshopping it, like 16 years ago, where did you ever get the comment like, oh, this is a novel? Like I used to get that all the time.
Everybody gets that comment, man.
And I'm like, no, like it's a short story, like just enjoy. And they're like, I think you need to do more. And you're like, oh, the work isn't done.
I know. I try to really never make that that statement in class and try to discourage students from making it, because lots of times it's sort of a cop-out statement. It's not really a critique. It's more like a I'm just going to say this because that sort of alleviates me from actually talking about what's right in front of us, right? But you're right. There are some stories that they don't seem to be, you know, the way I sort of talk about it in class, I guess, is like you got to find the right container for the idea, right? And some ideas, the right container is a short story, but not all ideas. You know, some ideas the right container is a novel, some it's a novella, some, you know, I'm not going to say poem or whatever because I don't. There's experts in that. That's not me. But you know, sometimes you find that you have an idea and you're like, you know, you read a story that's based on that idea and you're like, I can see so many different ways for this to go. This might not be the right, you know, container for this. But I don't really talk about that in class. I talk about that to the writer sort of afterwards, saying you might really want to think about expanding this because you see so many possibilities. And so that was the deal with this one. I can't recall honestly if anyone said that to me in class. They probably did, but just the basic premise behind the concept of the book is all about storylines. You know, generating stories. You know, I mean, it's a machine that you can walk into if anyone doesn't know, and you know, pay $2 to, and you take a swab of your DNA and it analyzes it, and it spits back out to you what it says your utmost potential in life is, right? You know, it's analyzes your DNA and tells you what your body and mind could do, like if everything would have worked out right, you know. And so the idea itself just generates stories. And so I think that was part of why, you know, I was like, okay, there's definitely more to do here. But not only that, I really sort of like the married couple. I mean, I like those characters, and I wanted to do more with them.
Yeah, I read I haven't finished the book yet, but I in the first chapter, I very much enjoyed him with his trombone lesson.
Yeah.
It was quite a fun.
Yeah.
fun
So it's,
little
you know, a guy
description.
just hitting this sort of midlife crisis, you know, thing, and thinks that the thing that's going to save him from the doldrums of his day-to-day life, which he enjoys. He loves his wife, but you know, he's not happy with his career anymore. Things like that. And he thinks that what's going to save him is learning how to play trombone.
And was it always set in the small Louisiana town?
No, I mean, no. The story I think was set in Louisiana, but it wasn't. You know, I didn't have like Deerfield in my mind in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
Yeah,
I mean, that came later.
I mean, too, it's kind of interesting. Like you're saying, like the machine has like unlimited possibilities because you could just keep sending more characters to it. And having
that's one of the. I mean, that's one of like the challenges. You know, of writing it was like limiting it. You know, and trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I want here? Because there are lots of different ways to go with it. I mean, in the hands of a different writer, it would be a much different book.
Right.
You know, it might be much darker. It might be much more sort of a sci-fi type of thing. It might be Panic on the Streets of New York. You know, who knows? But I knew sort of what I wanted to do, which, you know, to me is it's a book that's sort of affirmative. You know what I'm saying? Like it's affirming that who we are has value, that our dreams have value, but also our realities. You know, but I think there's lots of writers that I respect that would have taken it to a much even darker place than I did. You know, and so so one of the first things I had to do was sort of limit it. All right, what am I interested in? What do I want to say? You know, if you do have something come through your life that says, you know, I can tell you who you're meant to be. Right? Do I want the ultimate statement to be positive or negative? Right? And of course, you're playing lots of different notes as you write the book, and you're hoping people feel up and down. That's what you want to do the whole time. I think you want, at least me. You know, I want
for sure.
Right? But ultimately, which direction do I want it to go? And for me, it's positive. That's just sort of how I am, and I'm hanging on to it. You know, I mean. It's been a hard year for optimists, you know.
Most definitely.
but I'm hanging in. Yeah.
And so, how was the experience of, like you're saying, your first book, My Sunshine Away, is much kind of heavier and darker comparative. Like, was it? I mean, I know each book is a different experience, sort of writing it. But was it? Were there anything like noticeable for you in the differences between writing this one and versus that one?
Well, I mean, I think a couple of things. I mean, if there's a couple of different ways to answer that question. One, on the purely personal, I had a lot more fun writing this book than the last one. The character, like I said, the characters were allowed to be, you know, strange, silly, you know, all that type of stuff. And so, like, you know, dialogue and things like that were a lot more fun. And you know, so personally, it was a easy, not, I don't want to say easier, but definitely more fun experience. Okay.
Right. Okay.
My first novel has a whole lot of my own life story in it. Right. And so it was, I think, a little bit more, I don't know. I felt like a little bit, I don't know the right way to say it. More deliberate, I guess, you know, and like thinking, okay, yes, this is all fictionalized, but I was drawing a lot from my life, drawing a lot from my hometown, drawing a lot from a, you know, story I'd heard growing up and things like that. And I wanted to, it was really sort of serious, and I'd never written a novel. And I thought that being serious was the only way that, you know, you could be respected, you know, and so there was a lot of that there. So it was hard, and I was really nervous because I'd never done it. This one was hard for different reasons because I was doing a lot of different things on a craft level that were very different than my first one. My first novel, and this is, I don't know if anyone's even watching this, but this is writer nerd talk. Okay.
Yeah, no, I can see that we have people watching. We have like 12 people watching currently. It goes up and down, in and out. But yes, people are watching.
No, so writer nerd talk, the first book is first person. Okay. And so the whole novel is in first person. I'd written short stories that are third person, first person, and second person. I'd always trying different things out. But, I spent 7 years in a first person voice in the exact same voice. Okay. So, after a while, when you're working on a book, you start, at least I do, I start thinking in the way that the first person voice works. Right? I start hearing things that way. I start hearing phrases that way. I start thinking of descriptions that way. And so it's very hard to like suddenly start writing and be like, oh wait, I'm not attached to that anymore. I don't have to describe the tree in the same way that person would have, right? I can sort of free myself from that. And so this one is third person, pretty much all the way through, close third to about 4 main different characters, rotating chapters. And so this is a challenge for me because I hadn't done it before in a sustained work. And also because I often hate books that work this way. And because what happens to me is, and so what I mean, and people that are watching, I'm sure they know, it's like when each chapter you're sort of close to a different character, right? And so, you meet Billy, chapter 1, then you meet Sue, then you meet Roxanne, and then you meet, Barbara. And you're supposed to sort of be keeping track and you're hearing different voices as you do this, right? Well, what happens to me in a lot of these novels is that I don't like Roxanne, right? And so, I can't wait for Billy and Sue or whoever the hell I just said. I can't wait to get them back. But I'm stuck with Roxanne every 4 chapters. That drives me crazy. And so I knew it was a thing that I needed to be careful about and really cognitive of, which is not letting, understanding that there's probably going to be some readers that don't like certain characters as much as others. That's just how it goes. That's how life goes. Okay. And so understanding that in those chapters, whoever they may be about, I have to put enough information about the people they do like, or enough sort of hints that we're going to find something else about them, that the people they do like soon, that they don't leave. Right. That's the main thing. It's like you don't want a reader to leave. Obviously, they're going to shut the book a couple of different times, but you don't want them to leave. And so that was a challenge. So third person close, alternating characters, and making sure the plot worked in such a way where even if you felt like you were saddled with the character you weren't as interested in, you knew that they were thinking about a character that you were interested in, or they were doing something that was going to affect a character that you are interested in, or what they were doing, yes, was going to have a ramification to another storyline you're interested in. And so that was sort of the goal. And so when I say it was fun, yeah, it was fun because I could laugh and joke, but it was a new challenge and a new sort of writing challenge for me. And that's what I want to do. That's what I think. I don't know. I think all writers they don't want to be bored, Right. So you want to sort of challenge yourself.
Absolutely. So I wanted to say we have a couple of questions over here. First of all, Hope is watching. Hope is one of our ones that tunes in almost every week. So hi,
right.
Hope.
Hi, Hope.
And Linda, who is my mom, she is asking who influenced your writing. So who's some people that you love to read or that you think influenced?
Does she mean like other writers that influenced, or she means like people in my life, or probably writers, I'm guessing?
Probably writers.
No, knows. There's tons and tons for different reasons. Some people will influence you in the way that maybe they write sentences. Other people influence you in the way they write plot. Other people influence you in the way they write character. It's very rare that there's like one sort of, Godhead thing, like that's the only one, if there was one of those for me, it would be a writer named Lewis Norden. Nordan, who was from Itta Mississippi. We wrote probably about 7 or 8 books, all with Algonquin Press, which is really great, smaller press out of the South. I've been writing for quite a while up to this point. I probably started writing when I was in serious. I know I started writing in high school, but getting serious about it in college and taking English and being a creative writing major and doing all that stuff. I went the total academic route, went to graduate school to get a master's in literature, but also did creative writing there, and then got an MFA creative writing. It's all I've been doing for a really long time, which I guess doesn't speak that well to my abilities, but I've been practicing for a real long time. And it wasn't until I was in graduate school getting my MFA, around the time we were talking about earlier, 2003, something like that. And one of my teachers named Tom Franklin, who I also really like his stuff a lot, gave me a book called Music of the Swamp by a writer named Lewis Norton. And that book completely sort of transformed me in a way that has stuck. Now, there's been other books that have transformed me in other ways. So, the first time I read Airships by Barry Hannah, I felt transformed because I never read sentences like that before. First time I read Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, I felt transformed because I never felt love and character in a way that I do in that book. There's lots of books that transform you. This one really transformed me and stuck. Like I haven't been the same. And I think it was because, I'm from Louisiana, I'm from the South, and I've been writing about the South and reading about the South for a really long time, but primarily in like the William Faulkner sort of vein, where everyone from the South was sort of very tough, and it was sort of, the law, that sort of, masculine law,
Yeah.
Like if you wrong me, I'll burn your freaking house down. Type of stuff, and everyone's real sort of not evil, but like definitely like mean and things like that. And so my lifetime at that point, I was probably about 30. My lifetime in the South was nothing like that. It was never the rough and tough stuff. It was never like my dad's beating me or something, and they're all these awful drunks. Like, it was never that way. Almost all the role models I've had in my life that are male have been positive role models. Almost all the couples I've seen love one another. They treat one another with respect. And so I was never seeing like my South in what I was reading. And I always felt like, man, maybe I'm like too sensitive, like maybe my problem is I'm supposed to be like, shooting like a deer in the head instead of writing poems to a girl who will never like talk to me, maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes or no?
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But that's how that literature sort of makes you feel. It sort of makes you feel like, no, this is how it works in the South. We live down a long dirt road, and you don't want to come down here unless you're ready, And that was not mine, right? And so I read Lewis Norton's Music of the Swamp, and he's got a lot of the same stuff in there. So he's got the dad that drinks too much. He's got all that type of stuff. Okay, but his vision of this is so it's like almost like magical. It's like these people we're there. Sorry, are we still there?
Well, yeah, you're back.
Okay. Okay, I don't know where I got cut out.
It broke up a little bit, but
it was just like you kind of froze, but your audio was still going. So you're talking about like the music of the South. He's got everything in there, like that sort of type of thing about the dad who drinks too much.
Yes, thank you. He's got all that sort of stuff in there, but the way that his main characters like see this world is from a very, very sensitive, like almost magical place. Okay. And his narrators love people, like they love them, and they want people to be good. They're not narrators like a lot of the Faulkner who understand that everyone's bad, right? And when I read that, I tell you, I was never the same. It felt like I was finally given permission to sort of write about the South in a way that I didn't even know I wanted to. And so after that, I remember reading that, and I remember finally turning in a story to Barry Hanna's class that was set in Louisiana. I'd been setting stuff all over the place. Set in Louisiana about, kid and his uncle type of thing. Terrible story, I'm sure. But I remember getting it back, and he had marked it all up. But at the bottom of it, it said, like, by God, I think you finally discovered material. And hearing that, it was like, okay, well, this is the first time he said anything positive about my stuff in a couple of years. So maybe there's something here. And so ever since then, it's Lewis Norton is by far the person who has put me in the seat I'm sitting in right now in terms of a writer that's influenced me.
All right, I just wrote down Music of the Swamp, order.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna have to give that a read. That sounds amazing.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, it's a story collection that was pitched sort of like as a novel in stories type of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I know those.
Yeah, his book came out when Algonquin was doing all those really small books, right?
Oh, like the Ellen, is it Ellen Forrester has that one?
They did a bunch like that, and a lot of people, Algonquin's a great press, and he had Kathy Porres as an editor, a great editor. But a lot of people do talk about, the idea like, why is he not more well known? And it's like, it's part of when they were doing those really sort of small, strange looking books that almost didn't look like real books, and so it's interesting. I don't know.
This is weird. I'm just going to go off on the tangent of strange sized books. I was in a CVS the other day getting my flu shot, and they have a bunch of books. The books, I've never seen the size of books. It's like the size of a mass market, kind of, maybe even a little bit shorter, and then like long, like a really wide book, but it's like Debbie McCumber, like, Roman type stuff. And I was like, I've never seen this. This is like they've repackaged the same book in like a strange size. And I wonder how that works. As from a bookseller's point of view, FYI, that does not fit on the shelf. Now I don't know what to do with it. Right. But I wonder how it works in other locations.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Well, it can start to look like a coffee table book or something if you start stretching it out.
Right. If you go too long, it's gonna be.
It was very, maybe like it fits in your hand, like it goes across your palms a little better, but it's still a small paperback. I really don't know what the logic is behind that, changing the shape of the mass market paperback. But they're at CVS, so I guess that's working for somebody, for like 4 of those authors that are in the front row at the CVS. It is working for them.
Who knows?
Yeah. See, I need to get somebody from Algonquin on here and be like, all right, what's up? Why'd you do that? Why'd you make the shape different? What is up with you, publisher? I actually do have somebody who's an editor and a book marketer coming on November 6th. I'm going to ask her. There we go. I'm going to find the answer to this question.
There you go.
So you just got to find the right person to ask. So you play drums, I'm guessing?
I really did growing up. It's been a while. I mean, all through high school and, stuff like that, college, in bad bands and things like that. And then when I went to Knoxville, Tennessee to get a master's in literature. When I moved up there, I lived in like this little tiny apartment. I couldn't bring my drums. So I bought an acoustic guitar and tried to learn how to play that. And quickly realized it's like way harder. I think I think guitar is really hard. I've been playing it now for 20 something years, and I'm still 4 chords. It's about as good as I can do.
There's about 1 million songs written with those 4 chords.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's what. No, I mean, I honestly, that's the truth. I mean, I came to that. I came to that point where I was like, all right, I've learned these 4 chords. Now I have a choice to make. I can either like dedicate the rest of my life to learning the guitar, and I will become someone that like I see on the stage when I go to a bar, right? Or I can just chill out and do other things, and I can play like 1 million songs. And so I decided just to chill out and do other things, and I still, sing to my wife out on the porch, the 1 million songs I can play with 4 chords. And so that's okay with me.
You're still super impressive at the party when you pull out the guitar and you can play a song everyone knows the words to.
That's right. That's right.
Another thing about those 3 or 4 chord songs, everybody knows them.
I know. And Yeah, and at the party at a party that size, the person who is actually wailing on the guitar is being a little pretentious. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't need to do that. Like if you're gonna actually be like a guitar wizard, go get a gig and do that somewhere, and I'll pay $10 to see you. Like don't do it on my porch and show me up.
Right? Just play the song, sing along. Let's all get along. It's great. Do that when the voting really kicks in high gear here. You should just go out on the porch and play as if there's a line. People will love you. People will love you. It's good stuff. So let's see. There's another question. My mom actually asked another question. Let's see. What kind of research do you do for your books?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, I try to do as little as possible. You know, because lots of times and every writer is different. It depends on what your project is. Unfortunately, I think the project I'm thinking about working on next is going to require actual research, which is a bummer. I try to do as little as possible because what you often find out, I think, that is if you're really basing something on historical reality, it doesn't bend to your plot in the way that you want it to. You know, and sometimes you have to take control of it. And you have to say, you know, I don't care if this actually happened or not. It needs to happen in this book, and it needs to happen right now. And if that's like a problem in history, then I'm screwed, right? So I try not to do that. I mean, what I've done so far, my first collection is a traveling circus is sort of like the main background of it, right? So I mean, I had to do some research on that, but it wasn't like I was making sure that this traveling circus was in town on December 14th, 1926. I wasn't doing that crazy stuff. You know, and then for My Sunshine Away, I had to do some research for that because it does talk about specific events in history. It talks about the Challenger explosion, talks about Jeffrey Dahmer. And so I had to do some stuff like that just to make sure I had my dates right, really, and understand sort of what happened with the Challenger. I had to do some of that. But I don't like to do too much of that. Honestly, I mean, there's writers that are great at that, like Katie Simpson Smith or somebody like that. Like that's what she does. I mean, that's what she's so great at. I don't need to do that too. You know, I'm not, she's a lot smarter than I am. Like let her do that stuff. I'm trying to hit I think a different taste than that. But my next novel I'm working on, I don't want to talk about too much because it'll sound so stupid, but is the type of thing that I think I do need to actually do some research on. And so I was actually working on it this morning. I'm kind of depressed now.
Oh no!
So it's not going well, or is it the amount of research that you have to do?
No, it's really hard for things to go well when you don't know what you're doing. So for example, like with this book, I said I had so much fun writing it. I mean, well, I had fun like once I sort of knew the story, right? And there's a big difference between concept and story, okay? And so like right now with this new novel, I have my concept. I sort of know like, okay, this is kind of what it's about and what's going on, but I don't have my story, and that's a whole different thing. I mean, the story is what people are reading for, and I don't have it yet, and so I'm really sort of flailing around, just trying to figure it out.
As a writer, do you find that because you were talking a little bit about when you switched from like doing the first person with My Sunshine Away to doing third person, like do you have to write yourself out of the old characters to get into the new story? Like just kind of a couple of drafts and things to get you.
Yeah, I think a good way to do that is to change up the style, right? And so, honestly, I miss working on this last book because I got really comfortable in the style and it felt very natural. And all that type of stuff. But I don't want to write another book that sounds just like this one, right? So one way to do that is, I think you change up your syntax. You sort of change up, the way that the voice sounds in your head. You're trying to approach people in a new way, And
when you were piecing this book together with the different perspectives that rotate, did you have like different chapters on note cards, or like how did you? Because like you were saying about trying to keep people engaged, even if it's not their favorite perspective to be with, trying to keep them engaged with the other characters and the overall story. So did you do anything like specific to keep it, like to figure out how you were going to organize it all, or how you were going to like keep the stories in line? Is there like a specific I haven't, because I'm not done yet. Does it go like, is it a specific order? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 with the protagonist or anything?
Well, this
like
one goes. Well, no, it's not necessarily that rigid, but it moves chronologically. But every once in a while something will overlap. So in other words, like you're watching one character, I'm just making this up, but you're watching one character go to noon, right? You might see that next character at 11:45 before they're going to cross noon. But like that doesn't answer your question at all. What I typically do, you said note cards. That's actually kind of what I do. Is every once in a while I know that there's a scene in the book that I wanna make happen, and I know it might be way down the road. Well, I'm not I don't go write that scene at that point, because I've, at least the first 2 novels I've done, I've written them from basically page 1 to page 300, whatever, right? I mean, that's sort of how I've worked. But if I know, okay, look, way later down the road, this person needs to say this to this other character, right? If I know something like that, yeah, I use note cards actually. I have a stack of note cards for each book I've done, and I'll write, scene, Sherilyn and Deuce in the kitchen or something, for example, from this novel. And so what I'll do is I'll keep those together, just bound them up in a rubber band or something. I'll keep them together and look at them every once in a while and just go through and remind myself of things that I know I want to happen. And then whenever I write that scene, I'll sort of put a check on it or whatever, and it goes to the back. And just sort of keep reminding myself, okay, this is what you want, this is what you want, this is what you want. And you can shuffle those around and say, would it make sense for this to happen before this, right? You can do a lot of that mental work before you actually write the page. And so that's what I do, because I don't, to be perfectly honest, I don't really like writing pages that aren't going to be in the book. I mean, you are going to write some. Right. Obviously, you're going to write some stuff that doesn't go in there because it's not good, or your editor says, yeah, you don't really need this, and you realize they're right. So you are going to write some of that, but I'm not a fan of that. I have really limited writing time. I have a full-time job like most people do. I have, 2 kids. I got a wife. I'd much rather be with them than I would sequestered in a room, making stuff up. I'd rather be with my family. And so anytime that I do have to write, it's like I'm normally sort of either it's in a strange time where they're gone and it's just me at the kitchen table, or my wife will like let me go, to a hotel room for a night or 2. And so whenever I have those moments, I want them to stick. Okay. And so, yeah, I will think about things way in advance. Like, I'll say, like I said, I have a note card that says, I need a scene with these 2 characters in the kitchen about this thing. Well, I've known that for a year and a half by the time I start writing it, right? And so when I get there, I've stacked everything up before that. I know sort of what's going on, and then when I actually sit down to write that scene, it's not good the first time, of course not. But it's not a waste of time. Some of that is gonna be in the book,
right? Because like you're saying, that's a scene that needs to be there. And
I know it's gonna be there because I've had a million chances to tell myself it shouldn't be there. And I haven't done that yet.
That's really interesting to me, because you don't like to do research. You don't like to research other people's stories or other people, but you are researching this scene for a year and a half in your head.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think that a lot of I'm really not even a person that like writes down ideas every time I have them. I usually like, if the idea keeps coming back, then I write it down. Like I have lots of writer friends that are great writers, and they're writing down every idea they have. I don't do that because I know a lot of ideas I have are dumb. Like they're not good. Like that was cool, and it's sort of like I thought it was funny for about 25 seconds, but I'm not writing that down. But if it keeps coming, back. I was gonna say, if it keeps coming back, then I write it down.
Okay, this is like a good rule, because like then you don't just have one notebook that's just full of like every possible idea you've ever had.
A lot of people do that.
Also, I was gonna say, no one is gonna find like a notebook full of your like throwaway writing that you didn't want to publish, because there is none of that. You're like, if it made it to the notebook, it was good enough to make it to the notebook, you're good.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. Okay, so I like to write on like legal pads, and I'll tell you what most of these pages look like. All right. They are completely bordered by doodles. All right. I mean, completely. It's more doodle than words, right? And then it's almost incomprehensible handwriting because my handwriting is terrible. Like I can barely even read my own, right? But it's incomprehensible, maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs on each page, and all the rest is doodles. Okay. But when I look back at those things now, you know, and I'm always nervous about it. I always leave the front page blank because I'm always afraid that if my wife were to see what I'm actually doing, like this whole thing would be over. You know what I'm saying? Like she'd be like, no, you're not working at all. But when I'm doodling, I'm thinking, right? Mm. And so after that first blank page, it's all these doodles and then a couple paragraphs. And I look at it. When I look at it now, almost all that stuff is in the book. Like almost all of it was used, right? So in some way, probably not, you know, the sentence isn't the same.
Right.
But in some way it was used because I was, I guess, editing myself the whole time I was drawing a guy with a hat on, you know, with like a mustache and like a, fedora.
Oh, there is an art opening in your future. There is gonna be like some exhibit on, Louisiana writers or something, and it just needs to be all of your doodle note pages. And the Emma Walsh room is just.
I got tons. Man,
so
I got
is that how you start every book and every story? Is like longhand, long form, writing it out?
It's not necessarily how I start it, but it's definitely, I think, how I get most of the work done. Yeah. I like a perfect day for me is longhand, like writing it out, longhand, taking a break, and then going back and typing it up because I can't type very well either. I hunt and peck, like I've never learned how to type, right? So
okay.
It takes me forever. I think it's a burdensome thing to type stuff up. And so what I do is I write it all down, and then when I'm typing it up, I'm sort of editing a little bit as I'm typing. I also make 4,000 typos, and so then I go back and I fix that. And so that's another layer of sort of like cleansing it, right? Go back and I'm fixing the typos. Do I like that sentence? Do I not? And then when I've got it clean again on a Word document, I'll go back and read it, usually aloud, and see how it sounds to the ear, right? So that's really, I guess that's, so if one perfect day, say that was like 2 pages or something, it actually, that 2 pages went through like 4 different sort of versions. Scribbled longhand, bad typing, corrected typing, then reading out loud.
Okay, I just looked it up to see if you narrated your own audiobook, and you did not, but you read it out loud to yourself or to someone else?
To myself. Oh, I don't like to be around anybody if I'm working. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, you can ask my wife. I mean, I can't do it. It's like I can't have that sort of distraction. Not only that, but I'm a weirdo when I'm doing it too. Like I don't like want people to see me. Like, I mean, because part of it is I'm talking to myself. You know,
right.
I mean, I'm talking to myself, and like I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you does this? I'm like talking like as a character. I'm like, I'm doing a lot of weird things. And sometimes you get frustrated. Like I'll pick up my guitar if I'm frustrated and just like, play something and put it back down, then go back to work. And like, if someone were to watch me, like that would be awful. Like I don't want my family to see that,
I love how you're so in touch with this weirdness. You're like, I have a wife, 2.5 kids, dog, car, blah, blah, blah. Don't let them see me being weird. I'm so weird. I love that. I love that we're just in touch with the weirdness. Good.
But it's I mean, I don't even like I can't even like play music or any, I mean, I can't have like music on
no background.
No, I mean nothing. I like just total silence for like a really long stretch of time. I mean, that's where I work the best is like if I have like a couple days or something, where I'm not seeing anybody else on the planet, man, I can get some really good work done. I leave this earth, man.
I had a roommate like that who would write songs for the characters in the story she was having trouble with. She would like try to write us like if they were writing a song, like what they would do, and it actually worked. She was able to like work through some of the stuff.
But that's the whole thing. It's different for everybody, man. I mean, everybody's got, and it's different for different times in your life, right? I mean, so like when I was in graduate school, I'd go out to the bars and drink all night and come home and write well, I mean, or at least as well as I could back then. I can't do that now. Like after this, like I just had a martini. You think I can go write a story right now? No. I
You're not doing that
Absolutely
Hemingway write drunk, edit sober
no,
thing.
no, I don't write drunk at all. Like, I mean, I write totally sober. I would, maybe edit, like, look back at some pages if I had a drink or something. But I can't write drunk at all. That's insane to me.
Right? I had one teacher he would edit at 2 a.m. He was like, "It's the best. That's the best time to edit. You just get up in the middle of the night, and then if there's no one else, just focus on that." It's like,
Well, the
okay.
no one else thing is great. But that usually happens for me if I get up at like 5 or something, before my kids. Then that's good work. That's good work time. But I don't drink and write. Some people do. I don't know.
That 5 a.m. getting up before everybody, that is golden time.
It's the best. Your brain's working the best then, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote most of my Sunshine Away that way.
Wow.
Get up because I was just having a kid. I mean, I never had a child before. Like I said, I was always out, at bars and stuff before, but now I was like, okay, I can't do that anymore. So I got to figure out a new way to write. And so I started getting up. Yeah, I think honestly, it was probably more like 4:30 or, something like that. And because my daughter was, brand new on the planet and she would get up 6 or whatever, really early. So I would get, an hour and a half, 2 hours of total silence, no one, around. And that was my best work because, and also I would say this, don't get up and check your phone or don't get up and look at a headline or anything like that. No, just get up and go right to the page, like nothing else. Like, because as soon as you look at the real world, man, you're kind of done. You're sort of polluted, like especially now,
Oh God, yeah. 2020 is not prime. Like,
no, it's not, because you have to believe that what you're doing is important, and it's really hard to believe that if you read like just 3 headlines and recognize things that are happening in the world right now. It's really hard to go back and think, oh, all this made up stuff that I'm doing right now is important. But it is. The truth of the matter, of course, it is. Fiction's art's important. But it's hard to remember that and hard to have that sort of focus if you're reading a bunch of news before you sit down. At least for me.
That's good advice, because I always wonder. I mean, because there's so many writers do that. That's they get up early because they have to go to work and do everything else and take it. And so it's how do you get up so early? And then you just got to believe in it. You've got to. I think that, like you're saying, that's good advice there. And then I like not looking at your phone.
Don't do it. No,
Yeah.
it's worse. Yeah.
Not only is it depressing, like sometimes you start looking at it and then your hour is gone. You don't even realize it, and you've been clicking.
Right, you're just scrolling,
right. And then all of a sudden that writing hour you had is gone now because the kid's woken up, or it's time to start getting ready for work or whatever it is, and you did it to yourself again. So yeah.
No, absolutely.
Look at it. So let me see. I wanted to show you guys. I picked this book up from the library, and this is absolutely completely non sequitur. But I was thinking about graphic novels recently, and all of the books that get made into graphic novels. And people always ask, "Would you want your book made into a movie? Is it being made into a movie? Who would you cast?" All of those kind of things. Would you want your book made into a graphic novel? Like, this is a new question that I have to start asking people, because they're doing that so much now. Like, they're bringing back, and it feels like a complete non sequitur, but it's weird. I picked up this library book earlier today, and it's a book about Ada Lovelace and was it Charles Babbage? Anyways, a scientist, but it's a graphic novel, and I was like, I wonder. This is a new age question, because they're also assigning them in school now. In the first quarter of my son's 8th grade, they assigned him The Odyssey as a graphic novel. Like that's how they read that. Yeah.
Don't listen, Homer.
They might actually like it now.
Right? Well, yeah. And at least even if they have to read it again later, and for college or for something else, they've got this basic knowledge of the book, even if they haven't read, word for word originally the way it was. So how would you feel about that?
Amazing. What other answer is there? Like, if anybody, so if anybody reads something that you've done and likes it and cares enough about it to put their own energy into it, that's incredible. Like, of course, that'd be amazing.
Okay, follow-up question. So would you want would you want to be hands-on in like a graphic novel or I guess a movie process, or would you rather go, nope, I'm this is yours now, you know, like
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate enough to like have that question, you know, in real life, you know. So My Sunshine Away was optioned for television. It did not work out because people like move jobs and things. Like the whole TV movie thing is really, really crazy. I'm glad I'm not in that business. And then the Big Door Prize also has TV stuff going on.
Oh, cool.
And I want to be 100% hands off. Because I've already done my deal, you know, and the thing that I can protect are the words in the book. I've already done them. I chose all of them, and I'm okay with that. I think that there are people that are screenwriters and playwrights and television writers that are way better at their job than I am at their job, right? That's what they do. They're really good at it. And so I trust them to do whatever. I mean, you know, whenever these things happen, you know, when you're lucky enough for them to happen, you normally have options. You're normally able to talk to people and say, okay, wait, what are you planning on doing with this book? Now, if someone told me that they were going to make this into like a vampire, you know, horror porn or something, then I'd have a problem with that. You know, I'd be like, well, I don't think you're really lining up with, you know, my vision here. But typically you have conversations with those people that are interested in your work and you know, and they tell you, well, this is what I like about it. And this is what I'm interested in and And so if those things line up, then it's time to let them go do what they're great at. And so I'm hands off, you know, so I know that's different for some people. Like one of my really good friends is a guy named Michael Ferris Smith, who's a novelist, and he's writing the scripts for all of his books and they're selling. So he's really good at it too. But he wants that control over it, and like I said, he's skilled at it. So good for him, right? That's not me, you know. I mean, I'm like, I did the book, I'm done with it. You go if you want to go do something that's so cool that you think that so cool you're interested. Thanks, you know. That's kind of me, hands off.
That's probably a pretty healthy way to do it.
Right.
Yeah, you recognize what you're really good at, recognize someone else is better as a screenwriter, and go, cool, now let me let that go.
That's right.
Good. Yeah. Kitty's usually locked out when I'm at my house. Now this house is built a little bit differently, so Kitty is here.
I feel like I saw on Twitter, like someone asked Essie Hinton about The Outsiders being adapted into a graphic novel, and she was just like, "No, read the book."
Oh yeah.
I feel like
I think she was like asked if she would let it be adapted to a graphic novel or something like that, and she was like, "Nah, no."
Yeah. Right.
It makes me have a lot of questions about the movie back when that conversation happened. What makes, you know, why is it okay for it to be interpreted as a movie but not okay for it to be interpreted as a graphic novel?
Well, I'm sure there's millions of dollar reasons why.
Right.
Yeah.
Some slight.
I believe you have pinpointed probably the issue, but maybe that tweet will spark new conversations. Twitter does amazing things. Twitter is a
it'll suck the soul right out of your body.
You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. But if you make the right friends on Twitter, then you're doing good.
Right.
You're doing good. Well, we have reached 6 o'clock. We made it.
All right.
We did it. I want to thank you very much for joining us for Virtual Happy
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Absolutely. And Big Door Prize, we have signed copies at Garden District Bookshop. So I put a link in the comments earlier, but I will put that link in the comments again for Emma Walsh's new book. And you can come into the shop. We are open for browsing with a mask. We are still doing curbside pickup and free local delivery within 5 miles. And of course, we ship worldwide, so we can get you his book no matter what. We can get it to you. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. This is fun.
Neil, thank you. Ben, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Bye, y'all.
Thank y'all. That was fun. Bye-bye.
Thank you.